In a previous interview, you talked about struggling throughout the season. So what changed and how are you able to turn the page so that the end of the season went a lot better?
Look, when the 2024 season started, Lexie Hull seemed like she might just disappear from the WNBA completely. I mean, this was a 6th overall pick back in 2022. She'd won trophies at Stanford and carried herself like a future star. But under the old coach, Christy Sides, she was stuck on the bench, barely playing. Other role players were getting minutes over her. Everyone was starting to wonder if Hull would ever live up to her promise, or if she was just another draft bust.
So you have basketball in your genes. Your grandfather played basketball, your dad, and you have a twin sister who you played basketball with growing up. What was it like growing up in that family dynamic?
Well, we have a super competitive family, and, having my dad play basketball collegiately, knew that basketball was going to be put in my hands at an early age, but my parents were, super excited about having us try every sport imaginable. So yeah, we grew up, my sister and I, playing a little bit of everything.
Then everything changed. Caitlin Clark, a true generational talent, arrived. She didn't just adjust the Fever's lineup, she totally rewrote who the franchise was. Her game was pure electricity. She didn't just score, she bent defenses. The second Clark walked into Indiana, the offense finally had a purpose. The team chemistry ignited, and suddenly every player's path shifted. For Lexie Hull, this wasn't just a new teammate joining the roster, it was a lifeline.
I think it was important to get to know her off the court because I do think that, connections, getting to know people really play a part in the success of teams.
Hull actually opened up about all of this recently in interviews with She's for Sports in the Dunker Spot, and she didn't hold back at all. She really pulled back the curtain on what truly shifted in that locker room, how Clark's presence completely flipped her career, and what that says about the Fever's transformation. They went from being a total mess to one of the most compelling stories in basketball. This isn't just about one player's comeback, It's about redemption, leadership, and a culture change that could actually define the future of the Indiana Fever.
She's been called the clutch player by WNBA fans, and she was drafted to the W in 2022 with the Indiana Fever in the first round as the 6th pick. I'm talking about professional basketball player Lexie.
The early months of 2024 were just brutal for Hull. Even with all her college awards and her high draft pick status, she couldn't even make it into the regular rotation. Players like Katie Lou Samuelson and Christy Wallace, who honestly had way less potential than her, were eating up her minute. Meanwhile, Hull was just sitting there, a towel draped over her shoulders.
At the beginning of the season, my playing time definitely looked different than it did at the end. So trusting that, I was staying ready, putting in the work so that when I did get the minutes out on the court, that I could take full advantage of them. So I was just really proud of myself for trusting the process and staying the course.
That sting was absolutely real. Going from being a star at Stanford to a bench warmer in Indiana, that drop-off was a huge mental hurdle. Honestly, it was just as tough as any physical challenge she'd ever faced.
The basketball part of the transition is really tough. Everybody out on the court was one of the best players on their college teams, definitely the best player likely from their high school team. So it's just this mishmash of the best basketball players, and then you're playing against people that have been there for years and years.
Meanwhile, the whole team was just spiraling. The Fever stumbled to a rough 1-8 record right out of the gate. It was such a depressing start that fans in Indianapolis were begging for some answers. And here's the thing, those answers just weren't coming.
We were just sick that we had lost so many games, and also feeling like we were better than that.
Headlines were constantly filled with harsh criticisms, bad rotations, leaky defense, zero chemistry. Everyone in that locker room felt the pressure, believe me, and Hull, stuck on the sideline, had to battle her own doubts while it felt like the entire team was just sinking.
Part of my role is just getting to the open spots, and we have such a good offense that people find the open person. So to be that open person, you get excited. You get excited for the opportunity to shoot and score and be part of the momentum.
But Hull refused to let that negativity take over. She just doubled down on working hard, really sharpening her cutting, fixing her jumper, and staying ready for any little chance she could get. And through all of it, she truly leaned on her teammates. These were players who still believed in her potential, even when her stats didn't show it. And that belief, that became her fuel.
What is it like playing off of Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston?
I mean, they make my job really easy, right? It's awesome. And it's really cool to see all of them just grow, not only from this year, but playing 3 years with Kelsey, 2 years with Aaliyah. They're so impressive.
Then Clark arrived, and just like that, everything changed. The moment Caitlin stepped into that locker room, it was like someone flipped a switch and the lights came back on. Practices suddenly had energy again. Fans were absolutely flooding the arenas, and Indiana, all of a sudden, wasn't a joke anymore. They were the hottest ticket in the league. Clark brought that relentless drive to compete, and she made sure everyone else matched it.
And I think it's really fun because they garner so much attention, obviously, from the other team's defense. So then it allows the other players, me included, to make cuts, make reads, and they're really good at finding, those openings and giving the ball up when it's needed and finding the better shot. So it's really fun, and I feel really lucky to get to play with them.
As Hull herself put it, with a little laugh, we play against guys in practice, and if they're not winning, Caitlin's gonna do everything she can to make sure they're competing. That's not just energy, that's total transformation.
I mean, I definitely got passes and tried to finish when I wasn't expecting to get the ball. So now it's okay, every cut I have, every cut I make, every fast break I run, I have a real opportunity to get the ball, which definitely took me a second. And I think it really just took one of those to really get my head around oh, she's all the way down at the other end of the floor and she could still make the pass to me down at the block at this end. So, it's been awesome.
What Clark brought was so much more than just star power. She had a basketball brain that was just wired on fast forward. She read defenses like an experienced quarterback, threading passes into gaps that her teammates didn't even know were there. For Hull, that was a revelation. Suddenly, she was wide open, finding herself in scoring spots she'd literally never had before. Hull even admitted, "She's making passes I didn't think were possible." Clark's presence pulled defenders like a magnet, and her vision carved up defenses to free up her teammates. The Fever's offense was no longer stuck in the mud, it was humming.
It's so fun to be able to know that you're not just cutting to cut, knowing that you're cutting with the possibility of actually making a really cool play. So that makes it that much more worthwhile.
Clark's fire was totally contagious. Her competitiveness just spread through the roster like wildfire. Players who once doubted their own potential now felt like they could go toe-to-toe with anyone. This rookie didn't just bring points, she brought belief. And for Hull, that was everything. Clark's maturity and leadership just clicked with the team instantly, raising both morale and performance all at once.
She sees the game at a bigger scale, obviously with the platform that she's created for herself, and then that's transitioned to the game. It's huge. And I think for me, especially as a point guard and as someone that's delivering a lot of the passes that lead to shots, if I miss, she's definitely going to say you got the next one. I can count on her for keeping me confident and positive. So yeah, I think that shows the player that she is and the leader she is as a point guard.
And soon enough, the results started to follow. The Fever really began to find their rhythm, turning into a cohesive, dangerous offense. Hull herself even admitted that the game becomes so much more fun when you know you're cutting with a real chance to make a play. Clark gave her that chance. She wasn't just a star player, she was a total game changer who altered the path of teammates like Hull in real time. But was this burst of energy enough to truly turn Indiana's season around? That was still the big question, and the answer would start to appear in the tough weeks ahead.
It's really awesome to get to know her as well because, she's a great person, but you have all these expectations put on her, and our team has put on her, and fans have put on her. So to see her kind of be so mature in that transition, it's been really awesome, and I'm just really proud to, have her on the team, and it's been exciting.
What really stood out is that this huge shift didn't happen under bright lights or in front of cameras. It happened behind closed doors, in practice. Those sessions, Hull explained, actually became battles, not just drills. Scrimmages turned into wars because Clark absolutely demanded it. If a play broke down, Clark pushed them to fix it right then and there. No excuses, no shortcuts. Her competitiveness raised the bar for everyone, and the rest of the roster had to rise with it. The coaches saw the change too. Practices that used to drag suddenly had intensity, and from that fight, a real team identity finally started to form.
The Indiana Fever had a history-making year. What was that like for you to be a part of that?
I'm really grateful for the opportunity to not only play in the WNBA, but to be on a team like the Indiana Fever. I've seen so much growth, not only on the team side, how we're performing on the court, but also the growth in fans. I mean, on the road, it felt like home games. We're playing in sold out arenas that we have not played in the last 2 years before that. So, I mean, it's just really exciting.
For Hull, this transformation was honestly more than just a team story. It was deeply personal.
All of it comes down to trusting the process. And part of that process is making sure that the work's getting done.
Hull really pushed herself to sharpen all the tiny details of her game. She worked on her cuts and focused on getting super consistent with her jumper. She explained, during the Olympic break, we had a full month of practice. Seeing those shooting percentages actually climb, that gave her the belief she really needed. All that hard work done when no one was watching really paid off when it mattered. By the time the second half of the season rolled around, Hull wasn't just another body on the bench. She had carved out a central role in Indiana's offense.
I think one thing that our coaches did during that break, I mean, we had a full month of practice pretty much during the Olympic break, and they would put up every day after practice our shooting percentages from 2s and 3s during drills, during scrimmages, during everything. And I think that helped me because, some people would probably like, it's so annoying, whatever, but I personally liked it.
And none of it, absolutely none of it, happens without Caitlin Clark being there. Clark's ability to warp defenses was like giving Hull a wide open runway. Hull said, Kelsey and Caitlin attract so much attention that frees players like me to cut and find openings. And those openings, they started turning into points. Hull's shooting percentages spiked, her confidence surged, and she began making crucial plays in high-pressure moments. Suddenly, Indiana wasn't stumbling anymore. They were surging.
Numbers don't lie, unfortunately, and they're very drastic. My first 2 years, I was just so upset because I was putting in so much work, and my shooting percentages, I would granted get like 1 or 2 at the max, 3s a game. So it's hard to be super efficient when the pressure is really on for those couple shots. But the numbers don't lie. So it really allows you to look at improvements and really shoot for goals and keep yourself like accountable.
As the Fever started stacking up wins, their chemistry became impossible to ignore. Hull shared, we never turned on each other. That unity, that mindset, that's what pulled them through all the tough stretches. And the fans noticed it too. Arenas that used to look half empty were suddenly packed wall to wall. Social media just lit up with clips, praise, and rallying cries for this new look Fever squad. Hull described the rush of home games, saying, running in front of a sold out crowd gave us a type of energy we hadn't felt in years. It's hard to put into words how much it meant. Indianapolis, once desperate for a winner, was truly buzzing again.
All of these people were supporting me this whole time, and I didn't know that they were supporting me until that moment. So like, you kind of forget that there's these people behind the scenes until they come out of the woodwork and say like, I've been following along this whole time. Like, I'm so proud of you. And that just feels so good to know that there's, such a community behind everybody on our team, even when you don't hear it every day.
This was bigger than just a comeback story, it was a statement. With Clark orchestrating everything and Hull truly blossoming, the Fever weren't just chasing a playoff spot, they were completely rewriting what this franchise could even be. The only question left was, how far could this group really go, and could they keep this incredible chemistry alive under all the growing expectations?
And you and Erica Wheeler started swapping outfits, so where did that idea come from?
Our styles are so drastically different. So we were just joking, like, I wonder what it would look like if you could pull it off. And the first outfit was something so outside of what I would have ever picked out of my closet. And I was like, that's not going to look good on me. I'm like, all right, let's try. So then I tried it on and everyone was like, you pull it off, you pull it off. So then it just became part of the pregame tradition. And it's a really fun, lighthearted way to just, get us in the mood to play.
Off the court, the Fever's rise was just as dramatic. Believe it or not, players like Hull suddenly found themselves living a totally new reality. Quick errands around Indianapolis turned into impromptu autograph sessions. The faces that used to be anonymous in the city were now household names. It was thrilling, sure, but also incredibly overwhelming.
Walking through the grocery store in Indianapolis and trying to just go get some groceries and someone fist bumps me and says, go Fever. That's just a really cool environment, and it shows, the dedication of the fans and the fandom in the city. So that part's been awesome.
Fame
The game, as Hull quickly learned, is definitely a double-edged sword. Every single game came with online breakdowns and analysis. Every loss brought a huge wave of negative noise, and even every win brought its own new set of pressures.
Pros, it's pretty obvious. We have people filling the stands. We have people cheering. We have people so excited for the individual success of the teams, but also the league as well as players. So there's so many more eyes on the game.
Social media specifically became both a blessing and a burden. Hall admitted that while all the constant feedback could sometimes fuel her motivation, it also really tested her resolve. After losses, scrolling through those comments was a harsh reminder of just how heavy the spotlight had become. She admitted, "It's part of the job, but it's not easy," giving us a real glimpse into the emotional toll of stardom.
It's hard. Like, it's easy to say, like, yeah, don't read it, but everybody does a little bit. And I think it's having like that support system to help keep you on track.
Through it all, the Fever really leaned on each other. Their locker room became more than just a place to strategize plays. It became a sanctuary, a safe space where the focus stayed on growth, on resilience, and on true camaraderie, rather than all the endless chatter happening outside. This culture, built on accountability and genuine trust, gave the team the solid foundation it needed to thrive in a season that truly tested everyone. They weren't just surviving the spotlight anymore, they were learning how to own it.
The biggest thing is finding people to kind of get you out of that cycle and get you to thinking about the positive things you did, even though a lot of times people online aren't talking about the positive things.
The story of the Indiana Fever is truly remarkable. Going from a disastrous franchise to one of the most talked about teams in basketball, they proved that resilience and unity can completely flip an entire narrative. Lexi Hull's personal resurgence totally embodied that lesson. Her patience, her dedication to the grind, her ability to seize her moment, all of it helped fuel Indiana's turnaround. But she's the first to admit it. Caitlin Clark was the absolute catalyst. Hull said, "She's not just a star player, she's a force who makes everyone around her better." And that's the real truth. Clark lifted the entire franchise, both on and off the floor.
The fact that people are talking about the WNBA, people are tuning in to our games, that's what we want to hear, and that's only going to get us farther as we go on.
Indiana's rise wasn't only about wins. You know, it was about finding their identity, about sold-out crowds, an energized fan base, and a team culture that truly valued accountability over excuses. All of that set the stage for long-term success. Hull put it perfectly when she said, "We're not just playing for ourselves, we're playing for something bigger." Looking ahead, with Clark leading, Hull thriving, and talents like Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell ready to dominate, the Fever aren't just contenders anymore. They're quickly becoming a powerhouse.
I think it's moving in a good direction. I think that it's because it's more competitive and there's more eyes on it. The pool of coaches that we can choose from, I think, will only get bigger and bigger. I think we're going to have great coaches coming up, and just excited to see, what those eras look like. Like, it's unpredictable at this point, but excited to, talk about it in a year from now.
But make no mistake, this is only the beginning for them. The Fever have clearly shown they can handle tough times and build momentum. The only question left now is, can they truly take the leap from being just contenders to joining the WNBA elite? Only time will give us that answer.